So I have been asked many times to cover some entry-level DACs and amps, and today we are going to check out the Uno from iFi Audio, which is easily one of the best options that you can go for. Inside the box, you will of course find the DAC first, then there is a white iFi sticker, you will find some papers that include a quick start guide and warranty information, and finally there is a USB-C to Type-A cable to connect it to your computer. The Uno looks very cute with its compact size, and even though it has a plastic body, it feels like premium plastic with a very nice texture on its body. The analog volume knob on the front also works as a power switch, and it houses a multicolor LED that glows with different colors depending on the quality of input that it receives, which is really cool. Then there's the EQ button on the left to switch between different EQ presets indicated by the 3 LEDs on top, and then there's the power match button that lets you control the output power, so you can limit its power for sensitive IEMs or unlock it for using it with power hungry headphones. At the backside, there's a USB-C port that also supplies power, and then there are 2 RCA ports for connecting these with your speakers, so you can also get a great quality sound with them. Now both of these outputs keep working when you have it on, so plugging in your headphones won't mute the speaker, and the knob on the front also controls the volume output of the speaker. The Uno will also work with your Android phone or Apple devices if you have a USB-C to C cable. The DAC chip that we have here is an ESS Saber ES9219, and if you don't understand what that means, you don't have to feel bad about not being that level of an audio nerd. Now when I tested the DAC performance of this with my Adam A5XS, I was really surprised by how good it sounds. If I had not known the price tag on this, I would have easily guessed it to cost at least 2 or 3 times more than it actually does. Not only it supports PCM up to 384 kHz, it also supports MQA for people who are into Tidal streaming, and it can even play DXD and DSD 256 files. Now these formats are completely overkill for its target audience, as most of you are going to stay at 44.1 or 48 kHz PCM, but the support that we have here means that if you want to experiment with some high resolution PCM files or even some DSD files, you can do that with this DAC and see if you can hear a difference, and let me know your findings in the comments. It actually also supports firmware updates, which are quite easy to do, and there have already been 3 or 4 firmware updates, so I highly recommend that you do it if you get it. The Uno has 3 equalizer presets, which are gaming, movies and music. The special thing about these EQ modes is that unlike most other devices, the equalizer works in analog domain, and iFi says that it prevents any kind of degradation in sound. Now just because a device uses a digital signal processor for equalization doesn't mean that it is always going to be bad, but on a budget device like this, I think that having an analog equalization prevents any degradation that may happen because of a bad DSP. The great thing about iFi Audio's equalizers is that they are generally quite subtle, so switching between them doesn't completely change your sound, and you hear very cleanly implemented differences that don't feel useless. So without the EQ on, you of course get a very balanced sound, which I like. The game mode increases the top end of the sound, so you can hear footsteps in games more clearly, and it makes regular headphones sound like gaming headphones, so unless you are actually gaming, I wouldn't use this mode. The movie mode gives the voices in your audio a boost, so if you are watching a Christopher Nolan movie, you may be able to understand what is being spoken better. And finally, the music EQ gives you a nice bass boost that also increases the fullness of sound with basslight headphones, and it is implemented very nicely, so you don't get that boominess that you may get with generic bass boost modes. I really like these EQ modes because each of them is actually really useful for their intended use cases. One thing that iFi doesn't mention in their manual is that you can also select between different digital filters on this DAC, so if you keep the EQ button pressed, you can select between a bit perfect, a minimum phase and a standard digital filter. What these different filters do is beyond the scope of this video, but you can just switch between these to test which one sounds the best to you. I generally prefer the bit perfect modes, and that is the default setting on this. While most of you will probably not be able to hear a difference, it is really great to see an entry-level device offering this level of advanced control. Now let's finally talk about the headphone out on the front, and iFi says that they use something called an S-balanced connection, which gives you some advantages of a balanced connection on regular single-ended headphones, but what matters is of course how good it sounds. The power output is rated at 211 watts at 32 ohms, and even though that may not sound like a big figure, I think that most people should be able to drive most headphones that they have with this, and it will of course work very well with IEMs. I tested the output power with different headphones that I have, and while the Uno was able to handle the usual headphones like the ATH M50X and Sennheiser HD598 very well, what really surprised me was that it was also able to drive my HiFiMan HE4XX really well. The reason that I was not expecting it to drive these headphones well is because these are planar magnetic headphones that are kind of power hungry for small amplifiers because they require a lot of current. So most USB powered devices have not been able to drive these well. While the FIO E10K is a very old product now, it had 200 mW of power versus 211 of the Uno, and while that may make it seem like both of these amps have the same power, the HE4XX really didn't sound good on the E10K as they sounded kind of thin and slightly harsh, but the Uno drives these much better with a very full low end with the music EQ mode, and that means that you can just get this very affordable DAC and amp to power these or something similar like the HE400i. The iFi Uno costs around 6,000 rupees in India and it is around $80 internationally, and for that price I really think that you are getting a lot for your money. If you are looking for an entry-level DAC, I think that this is one of the best options because it is compact, it offers some very useful features, it is easy to use, and most importantly, the performance is really great as it has been able to drive some very demanding headphones for its price range, and the performance of both the amplifier and the DAC has been amazing. These days, the onboard audio on different devices has gotten quite good, so one can often wonder if it is worth going for an external DAC and amp like this, but I think that this is a really perfect product for that kind of a scenario because you will get a serious upgrade over your inbuilt audio chip. So I'll have links to check this out in the video description. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe with bell, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.